Welcome to another Side Quest podcast, a detour worth taking. Okay, real talk. I have a question for everyone listening right now. Have you ever stood in a line so long you started questioning every decision you've ever made?
Oh, we are absolutely going there today.
Because conventions, my friends, Comic-Con, anime cons, all of it, they are a whole experience. And I mean that in the best and worst way possible simultaneously.
We brought in someone who's been behind the curtain today. Like, not just I paid for a badge and stood in the merch line. We're talking artist pass, behind-the-scenes access, the whole thing.
Yeah, and I can confirm it looks very different from that side of the table.
Edwin is in the building. We are so hyped to have you, man.
Happy to be here. I've been waiting to talk about this because people have opinions about cons, and I have feelings, strong feelings.
This is going to be so good. Are conventions worth the hype? Let's get into it. All right, so let's set the table here. Conventions have exploded in the last decade. You've got San Diego Comic-Con, which is basically a cultural institution at this point. And then you've got anime-specific cons, like Anime Expo, Otakon, Crunchyroll Expo. The list just keeps growing.
And every year, there's this massive wave of content online. Is Comic-Con worth it videos, con haul videos, cosplay compilations. It looks incredible from the outside.
But then you talk to people who went, and sometimes they're like, I spent $500 and stood in line for 4 hours for a 30-second photo op.
Which, okay, to be fair, those 30 seconds can be life-changing, depending on who you're meeting.
It really depends on how you go in, like your mindset, your prep, who you're going with. All that changes the entire experience. I've seen people have the best weekend of their lives, and I've seen people walk out looking like they just finished a final exam.
That is the most accurate description I've ever heard. Okay, let's break this down properly.
So for anyone who hasn't been to a convention, and no shame, they're not for everyone, what is the actual experience like when you walk in?
Because I feel like if you've only seen it on social media, you have a very filtered view. Like, TikTok makes it look like one giant non-stop party.
So here's the thing. It kind of is, but it's also chaotic in a way that nobody really prepares you for. The moment you walk through those doors, if it's a big con, you are immediately assaulted by stimulation. There are booths everywhere, cosplayers, panels, merchandise, artist alleys, celebrity signings, gaming sections, all happening at the same time.
And you physically cannot do all of it.
You literally cannot. And that's the first lesson people learn the hard way. You have to pick your priorities before you go. If you try to do everything, you will do nothing well, and you'll end the day exhausted and a little resentful.
Okay, so from the artist pass side of things, because that's a totally different entry point, what does that look like?
So, when you have an artist pass, or you're working the artist alley, you're there before the general public even gets in. You're setting up your table, you're arranging your prints and your commissions, you're meeting the people at the tables around you. There's this really cool sense of community backstage, so to speak. You're all kind of in it together.
That's actually really cool. I never thought about that side of it.
And then the doors open, and it's like a wave hits you. Suddenly, there are people everywhere, and you're doing your best to have genuine conversations while also, keeping track of sales and commissions.
That sounds genuinely stressful, but also kind of amazing.
It is both things at once every single time. But there's something about being on that side that makes the con feel more yours, like you're part of the fabric of it, not just passing through.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. I'm low-key jealous.
Same. Okay, so we've got the general attendee experience and the artist/creator experience. Let's talk about what makes these things worth going to in the first place.
All right, I want to make the case for conventions because I think the hype is actually justified when things line up. The community aspect alone is something you genuinely cannot replicate online. There is something about being in a room with 10,000 people who all love the same weird niche thing that you love.
The normalization of it is huge. Like, if you grew up being the only person in your school who was obsessed with anime or manga or a specific game, Walking into an anime con for the first time can be genuinely emotional for people.
I've watched people tear up in the artist alley because they found a print of a character that means a lot to them, and they've never met anyone else who even knew what that character was. And suddenly they're talking to the artist who drew it, and there's this whole moment. That happens all the time.
Okay, that made me feel something, Edwin.
We're already emotional in minute 5. This is a great sign.
It's real, though. That's the heart of what these events do at their best. They create space for people who feel like outsiders everywhere else to just exist and be celebrated.
But okay, let's flip it. Because the criticism is real too, and we can't just be hype train conductors here.
The cost. We have to talk about the cost.
Oh, yeah. Between the badge, travel, hotel, food, and merchandise, a big convention can genuinely cost you anywhere from a few hundred to over $1,000 for a weekend. And that's not nothing.
Badge prices for something like San Diego Comic-Con have gotten wild. And you're entering a lottery just to get the chance to buy one.
A lottery to spend money only at Comic-Con.
And the thing is, even if you get a badge, you still might not get into the panels you want because Hall H has lines that start the night before. People camp out.
Is it worth camping out? Because I've heard stories that are very conflicting on this.
Depends entirely on what you're waiting for. If it's something that's going to drop a trailer that immediately goes online, probably not worth sleeping on pavement. But if it's a once-in-a-career panel with a creator you genuinely love, and there's going to be exclusive content and live moments, maybe yeah.
I feel like the key phrase there is live moments, because that's what the internet can't give you.
Exactly, the spontaneous stuff. Someone goes off script, an actor says something wild, a surprise guest shows up. You had to be there. That's the magic that gets people hooked.
Okay, let's talk anime cons specifically, because I think they have a slightly different flavor than a general Comic-Con.
Yeah, Anime Expo versus San Diego Comic-Con. Those are two very different days out.
They really are. Anime cons tend to skew a little younger and a lot more cosplay forward. The energy is different. It's very celebratory, very costume heavy. Artist Alley at an anime con is sometimes the main event, honestly. People come specifically for the independent artists, the fan-made merch, the stuff you can't buy anywhere else.
Which I love because it supports creators directly.
Completely. And from where I'm sitting at my table, when someone saves up to buy a print or commission something custom, and you can see how much that piece means to them, that's the reason I keep going back, every time.
Okay, I need to ask the uncomfortable question. Is the corporate takeover of conventions a real problem? Because I feel like it used to be more grassroots, and now it's like every panel is an ad.
Okay, it's a fair criticism. The big cons especially, there's definitely been a shift toward them being major marketing events for studios and publishers. You notice it when the biggest panels are all for massive properties, and the floor is dominated by big publisher booths rather than indie stuff.
But the indie stuff is still there?
It's still there, and at the anime cons especially, it's still thriving, but you do have to seek it out more intentionally at the bigger events. It's not always front and center the way it used to be.
That's a really honest answer. I appreciate that.
So what's the move for someone going to their first con? Like, what's the actual practical advice?
Plan, but leave room for wandering. Know the 2 or 3 things you absolutely have to do. Get there for those, and then let the rest be spontaneous. The best memories I have from cons are usually the accidental ones, the random conversation, the cosplay that stopped me in my tracks, the artist I found because I was just walking around with no plan.
Okay, let's zoom out a little, because conventions are also a cultural indicator, right? Like, the fact that they've grown this much tells us something about where we are as a society with nerd culture.
The mainstreaming of all of this has been wild to watch. Like, there was a time when being into anime or comics was considered deeply uncool in a lot of places. Now, Comic-Con is covered by mainstream entertainment news.
And I have complicated feelings about that, honestly, because accessibility is great. More people finding things they love is always good. But there's also this sense that some of the intimacy of early cons is gone when everything gets massive.
The original San Diego Comic-Con was literally just people in a hotel meeting room talking about comics.
And now it's 150,000 people and Hollywood studios treating it like their biggest annual press event.
The smaller regional cons have kind of become the keepers of that original spirit, I think. And I genuinely love a good mid-size con. You still get incredible guests, great artist alleys, fun panels, but you can actually move around without feeling like you're in rush hour traffic.
That's a great point. You don't have to go to the biggest one to have the best time.
Which is actually a really liberating thing to hear. If you're someone who's been intimidated by the idea of like San Diego Comic-Con as your first con experience.
Start smaller, 100%. Get your con legs first. Figure out what you actually like at these things before you spend $1,000 on the marquee event.
And on the cosplay side of things, because you can't talk about cons without talking about cosplay, how has that changed the experience for you as someone at a table?
Cosplay is so integral to the energy. When someone comes up to your table in an incredible costume of a character from the thing you drew, and they're excited and you're excited, it's this full circle creative celebration moment. Cosplayers are so underappreciated as an art form.
Agreed. The work that goes into some of these costumes is genuinely insane.
It's craftsmanship. Some of these builds are engineering.
I've seen people show up with costumes that took them 6 months to build, and they wear it for one day. There's something really pure about that kind of dedication.
Okay, so we've kind of been dancing around the big verdict. Are conventions worth the hype? And I want a real answer from everyone.
I'll say yes, with conditions. If you go in with realistic expectations, a flexible plan, and ideally a friend or two by your side, the experience can be genuinely special. But if you go in expecting every single thing to be perfect, you will find things to complain about.
I'm a yes. Obviously biased because I go as an artist, but even setting that aside, there is no substitute for being physically present in a space where everyone around you shares a passion. You can't manufacture that online. The internet is great for community, but it doesn't replicate the energy of a convention floor.
I'm a yes too. I think the key is that you have to approach it like an adventure rather than a checklist. The moment you start stressing about optimizing every hour, you've already lost the plot.
That's the best way I've ever heard it put.
Ajay occasionally says something profound.
I have my moments.
The other thing I'd add is support the independent artists when you go. Buy something from the artist alley, commission something. Those creators put so much into being there, and it genuinely matters when people show up for them.
That is such a good call out. Do not just walk through Artist Alley on your way somewhere else.
Stop. Look. Spend 5 minutes talking to someone. You might find your new favorite artist.
All right, let's hit some quick takeaways before we wrap up. Edwin, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, so number 1, plan your priorities, but embrace the chaos. Number 2, consider starting with a smaller regional con before going for the big ones. And number 3, please support the artist alley.
From me, the community is the actual product. Like, the panels and the merch and the guests are all great, but the people you meet and the shared energy of being around your people, that's what you'll remember 10 years later.
And from me, conventions are what you make them. You can have a miserable time or a transformative time at the exact same event. Go with curiosity, not just expectations.
Love that. Okay, recommendation time. AJ, hit us.
Okay, if you're not watching Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead, you are genuinely sleeping on something special. It's this wildly fun anime about a guy who survives the zombie apocalypse and realizes, wait, I'm free from my terrible corporate job, and just starts living his best life. The art is gorgeous, the energy is infectious, and it made me laugh out loud multiple times. I'm giving it a solid 4 out of 5 stars.
That sounds like exactly the kind of thing this show was built to recommend.
It really is. Go watch it.
Adding that to my list right now.
Edwin, before we let you go, where can people find your work? Because after everything you shared today, people are going to want to see what you're creating.
Oh, I appreciate that. People can find me. Honestly, the best thing is just to come find me at a con. That's the full experience. But I'll leave my info with the guys and they can drop it in the description.
We love that. A very on-brand answer for this episode.
I thought so.
Thank you so much for being here, Edwin. This was genuinely one of my favorite conversations we've had on the show.
This was a blast. Thanks for having me.
And thank you to everyone listening. If this episode made you want to book a hotel room near a convention center, you're welcome, and we're sorry.
If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, leave us a review, and tell a friend who would be down for this kind of conversation. We are Another Side Quest podcast.
A detour worth taking. We'll see you on the next one.